very best.
Speaking of a man that doesn't know the Constitution, one of your platform highlights up there, the first one I think it is the Constitution, and you kind of like go through it and say some things that I'm very, very in line with in terms of how you frame it. And I'd like for you to take just a second and talk about this, because I'm going to have some follow-up questions, because I think in this time and age, there's I think it was Asarchus out there. I don't know if you're Asarch. Yeah, it is. Who said something to the effect of, the Constitution is just really the same thing as a gun control sign at an elementary school or something, right? Like it doesn't stop anything.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I will say that my issues section, it updates as we add stuff to it. So that's not necessarily in order of importance, even though all of it is important.
Okay.
So I just want to preface that. But I will say, it's meant as a guideline and almost intended as a map for us to be able to understand where our places are between like the federal government, the state government, and it's given to us so we can push back as necessary. And I feel like there are some parts of the Constitution that are like beaten to death. And then there's some things that are completely overlooked. So like, like the 10th Amendment, for example, I think more so now because of, states realizing what they have rights to mandate wise and don't versus the federal government and everything. I think people are becoming more aware of how important the 10th Amendment is, but I still don't think that we enact it as much. Even with the stuff coming down with Biden and the vaccine mandates, it's like, sorry, 10th Amendment says you have no say over my state. I have control over my state, and this is how it's going to be. And there's just not enough of that pushback. It's very clear, like the federal government has these rights. Anything outside of that reverts to the states. And so you don't get to come in here and boss my state around. That's my job. But, then you have stuff like even the 8th Amendment, So we have a serious criminal justice issue in our state. That's probably number one issue, period, is criminal justice.
For everybody out there who isn't a constitutional expert and doesn't know all the rights, the 8th Amendment is the right not to be tortured or have inhumane punishment, of citizens, basically.
Exactly. Being over sentenced or, in my opinion, the death penalty falls under that because I can't think of a single humane way to kill somebody. I just can't.
And it's in the state hands, for God's sakes, right? Like, maybe let's not leave that to the state. They're a little too good at this killing stuff.
Well, and not only that, so I did a rally actually on Saturday. That was a second chance rally, and I spoke at the Capitol here in Oklahoma. And, when I say that we have a serious issue in Oklahoma and a serious sentencing situation, there was a statistic that I found that I used for this weekend that just blew my mind. And this just paints a perfect picture of how bad our sentencing problem is. So nationally, when you look at the percent of people who are incarcerated, approximately 2.9% of the population has life sentences. Okay. In the state of Oklahoma, it's 12.3. 12.3% of the people that we have incarcerated have life sentences.
Are they just extra violent in Oklahoma?
No, that's exactly. Like we're not, like we're from the South, we're friendly, anybody that ever visits Oklahoma, and we have our state LP, we have a running joke that we're the libertarian, like we're their favorite state because we have so many people that stop through, and we have such great connections with everybody across the United States, activist wise. But no, we're not. Like we're great people. We're like your typical Southern hospitality, kind of group, even though we're not, as South as some of the other states. But I mean, we're, gosh, they would probably shoot me for saying this, but we're basically like in North Texas. Okay. Like we're Southern and we're loving and
you just lost the election.
It's just great. No, it's all fun. It's all fun.
I know.
But but it's not. We don't have more criminals, and that shows us that it's not that we have more criminals. It's a sentencing problem.